Hello everyone, welcome to MTX Chess. In this video, we will review the fantastic Ukrainian Immortal game played in 1937 in the Ukrainian National Championship between Grandmaster Efim Korchmar with the white pieces and Evsey Poliak with the black pieces. This is truly an amazing game, but before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you can keep up with all the chess content we have on this channel. So, white starts us out with e4, and after e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, we just have the basic Ruy Lopez on the board. And here, black played the move d6, and this is the old Steinitz defense of the Ruy Lopez. You don't see it so much these days, but back in the 1930s, this was a very common defense for black against the Ruy Lopez. The problem with d6 is that it blocks in black's dark square bishop, and there's not really any reason for black to defend this pawn right away. We already know, for instance, from the Berlin defense where the black knight comes out to f6, that there's really no need for black to add another defender to this e5 pawn so earlier in the opening. But the Steinitz defense, not played so much anymore, but that's what was played in this game. After d4 from white, we get bishop d7, knight c3, and knight f6. You can see both players is developing. Castle kingside from white, and here knight takes d4. And all very standard moves so far. What do you do as white? Obviously, the knight here is kind of forking both these pieces. You could, as white, you could capture the black knight, but then the problem is that you're going to lose the bishop. So what white decides to do is exchange bishops with tempo. So bishop takes b7 check, and after the queen takes back, then knight takes d4, and after e takes d4, queen takes d4, and now white is enjoying a nice position with a queen on a really fantastic square. Black continues with his development, bishop e7, and after rook d1, we have castle kingside from black, and here white going for the jugular with e5. This pawn is pinned to the black queen. You can see both the rook and the queen kind of piling up on the queen here, so e5, very logical move. What do you do as black? Obviously, this knight's got to move somewhere. You don't want to move it out to a square like g4 because then white could just harass the knight. So white moves black moves the knight back to e8, and then white plays bishop f4. So again, just piling up the pressure on this this d6 square. And black decided to relieve that pressure by playing a5. The idea being that the rook is going to get lifted, and then we'll add a defender to this d6 square. We get rook d3 from white, a nice little rook lift to keep the rook on the d file and allow the rook on the a file to come into the game. After rook a6, we get rook e1. Always a great idea, especially in the middle game. If you don't know what to do, get your rooks involved, and white did a great job of that in this game. We get queen f5 from black, and then knight d5. And this is a great tactical move. What white is threatening here is knight takes e7 with a fork on the king and the queen. This would be absolutely devastating for black. And so black plays bishop d8, keeping an eye on this e7 square and preventing white from coming here. White plays e takes d6 in this position, and we get knight takes d6 here. And here white plays rook g3, immediately threatening checkmate. So black has to deal with that, so they play f6. So the threat is basically nullified. And now black has bishop f6, so lots of bishop h6, excuse me. So lots of attacks coming from white on black's king side. There's really no way to defend this, so the only move that black can play is rook f7, and now this pawn is short up. It was in this position on move 19 that Korchmar played a really incredible move. Stockfish 14 on Light Chess took, I don't know, 10 minutes to find this move. So go ahead and pause the video, see if you can find the winning move for white in this position. So if you found the move, congratulations. And if you didn't know where it is super difficult to find. It is a wild move, and it is the move knight b4. Wow, not what jumps out to you when you look at this position at all. So what's going on in this position? The obvious threat is that the knight is attacking the rook. So you think that black would have to move the rook. If we forget for a second that black can simply take the knight, let's think about what happens if the rook goes back to a8. The tactic that's kind of underlying this knight b4 move for white is the queen sacrifice, queen takes d6. And after something like c takes d, we get rook e8 check. And after the rook blocks, we get check, and we get a nice little checkmate. So that's the idea of the tactic. So it's not so straightforward. This rook is under attack, and you can't really retreat the rook. So what if you move the rook to b6? The problem is that it doesn't matter. White will just continue with a queen takes d6, and if you take the queen, you're going to get the same tactic we just showed. And if black tries for something like queen d7, this loses for black, and I don't want to spoil it because some of the moves are similar to what we end up seeing in the game. But black figured that it was actually safe in this position to play a takes b4, and so already white sacrificing their knight after a takes b4. And here it doesn't matter that the rook is still on the 6th rank. White plays a fantastic queen takes d6, a really great move. Black knows that if they capture this queen with the pawn or the rook, that this rook will come down and they'll have a checkmate. So black plays queen d7. And so if you're white in this position, man, you've played two brilliant moves. Your opponent hasn't taken the bait on the queen sacrifice. And so what do you do in this position? So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can find another brilliant move for white. Okay, so if you found this move, congratulations, you're 2 for 2. The move is queen d5. And this is just an incredible move. And so what this does is it pins the rook to the king. And so now if, obviously if at any point the black queen takes the white queen, we get that checkmate pattern we kind of showed a second ago where it's checkmate like this, right? If we go back though, with this rook pin, there's no defenders of this pawn, right? So let's say black played just a complete wasted throwaway move away from the action like this. Black would have something like rook takes a g8, and this is just totally devastating. After the king moves, we get takes, and after rook takes, this rook's just coming down for checkmate. So that's what's really brilliant about this queen d5 move. So in this position, what did black do? Well, black really needed to relieve the pin of this rook, and so black played king f8, and so now this rook is free to basically protect the queen. Here, white plays rook takes g7, another great move. And what do you do here is black. So if you take back with the rook, now the rook is pinned to the king and the queen hangs. So now white can just capture the queen, and this rook is powerless to attack, and you've got checkmate coming. You've got checkmate coming here with queen e8. Tough position for black. So after rook takes g7, we have queen takes d5. Black figuring to just get the queen off the board. And go ahead and pause the video one last time and see if you can spot the winning move for white. So congratulations if you're 3 for 3 in this video. White played the fantastic rook g8 check, and it was in this position on move 23 that black resigned the game. But the way it would have played out, it's forced. Black would have been forced to capture with king takes g8, and then after rook e8 check, rook blocks, rook takes f8, checkmate. Really a fantastic game. The Ukrainian Immortal, white sacrificing their queen, their rook, their knight. Just an incredible game from Korchmar. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's nice that we can celebrate Ukraine with this just beautiful chess game. If you're like me, you've probably been watching the news and are really devastated to see kind of what's going on in Ukraine. And our hearts are with the Ukrainian people. So I hope you enjoyed this game. Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you guys next time.